Those of us who were around at the time remember when combination DVD players and VHS VCRs first started becoming common in the early 2000s, and for a while some very nice models were available, such as this Panasonic, but as the decade wore on, we saw increasingly cheapened out bargain basement economy models become popular in stores like Walmart, which were stripped of useful features like stereo sound on the VCR and eventually even a built-in TV tuner. But even compared to those last gasp combination DVD VCRs, this Magnavox DV200MW8 looks especially barren. Notably lacking are any input jacks on the front panel. That's because this is not actually a VCR. As it states on the door of its VHS mechanism, it's just a videocassette player, not a recorder. And I know younger millennials and Gen Z kids like to call all VCRs VHS players, even the ones which can record, but this one does not use that terminology. It calls itself a VCP, short for video cassette player. Such a Spartan model like this is not something I remember being popular, but clearly the option did exist at the time for people who just wanted to play their old VHS recordings and didn't care about recording new ones. In April 2007, Walmart was selling the Magnavox DVD VCP for $59.86, or you can get the same mechanism combined with a 20-inch CRT TV for $179.92. But I bet many people who bought one just because it was so cheap ended up returning it when they realized it can't record. Or maybe when they realized that due to its lack of a TV tuner, it does not have an RF output, and thus cannot be connected to a TV which does not have audio-video input jacks. And yes, probably quite a few returns were because this was made by Funai, whose products were famous for being defective out of the box or quickly developing problems. Because by July 2008, Big Lots was selling the DVD VCP combo player factory reconditioned with manufacturer's warranty for $39.99. There's the information sticker on the back. Magnavox videocassette player / DVD player, model number DV200MW8, manufactured in March 2007 by Funai Corporation Incorporated. And there are all the connections on the back. You get a composite video output and audio outputs, which work for both the DVD player and video cassette player. And then these other outputs are only for the DVD player, including component video output, S-video output, stereo audio output, and digital coaxial audio output. The main audio output here is only in stereo for the DVD player. The VCP on this is only mono. I got this one at the thrift store, and despite the reputation of these being problematic, I haven't had to do any repairs or maintenance. It just works. So let's test it out, beginning with the DVD player.
Now sit back and learn all about your new camera.
One interesting feature this DVD player has in its display is a bitrate meter. If you can see, as the video being displayed gets more complex, the meter goes up indicating a higher bitrate. But as it switches to a more static scene, it goes down because less bitrate is required. But with the DVD playback paused on a relatively dark scene, there's one quirk I noticed. Currently the TV is set to the composite input and it looks fine. I'll switch it to S-video and that also looks fine, but if I switch it to component input, the image has gotten all washed out. The solution to that is to resume playback and then press the mode button, which allows you to adjust the black level. Maybe you can see as I turn it on and off, the image is getting brighter and darker. So for some reason on this TV, when I have it set to the component input, I need to set the black level off, otherwise the image is washed out. But if I use the composite or S-video input, I need to turn that black level on,
You could even
otherwise
control
it's too
shooting
dark.
levels, exposure levels.
Another handy feature of that information display is that when playing a multi-layer disc, it'll actually tell you which layer it's currently playing. For example, with Top Gun, the widescreen version is on layer 0, while the standard 4:3 version is on layer 1. And yes, there's definitely no support for progressive scan or HD upscaling. This is a strictly interlaced standard definition DVD player. The owner's manual also specifically says it does not support playing video CDs, and indeed that is the case. If you try to play one, it thinks about it for a few seconds, but then gives the message, "Disk error, please eject the disk. Playback feature may not be available on this disk." So yeah, it'll play your DVDs, but above and beyond that, don't expect anything special. It doesn't even have an animated screensaver. If you let it sit for 30 minutes without playing anything, it just shuts off. One interesting byproduct of this unit's cheap design is that the only thing that switching between the DVD player and VCP does is control which one is fed into that shared composite video output. Otherwise, they are completely independent, so there's nothing stopping you from beginning to play a DVD and then switching over to the VCP and beginning to play a VHS tape simultaneously, which gives you the interesting opportunity to compare the video quality of the same movie on two different formats.
Well, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. You think we got an attorney in the family? Great. Who? Who? My cousin Vinny.
Obviously, this is far from the best quality VHS videocassette player, but I will give it credit for playing everything I've thrown at it, both commercially pre-recorded tapes and home recordings, although in a few cases I did need to manually adjust the tracking to get a usable picture, which does require the remote. There are no buttons on the unit itself for adjusting the tracking. There's the extent of the setup menu for the VCP, a language selection. That's it. That's all you get. If you push the display button while playing a tape, it shows you what speed the recording is, and then it has a real-time counter. I'll start out with this head cleaner tape, which doubles as a stereo audio test. Not that I have any hope of this player actually being stereo, but at least this way I'll know for sure.
Stereo audio test, right channel. Stereo audio test, left channel. Your video and audio heads are now clean. Press stop and eject tape now. Do not rewind.
When playing good quality SP speed recordings, the video and audio quality are not the best I've ever seen or heard from VHS with linear audio, but it's perfectly acceptable.
At this point, you can begin to fill your pool with water. Removal of all wrinkles from the liner is critical to ensure your pool will sit correctly and experience a long life. We recommend working from the center portion of the pool towards the outer walls. Fill the pool completely and then ready the filter pump for operation.
LP speed VHS recordings aren't very common in NTSC regions. In fact, most VCRs stopped supporting LP speed recording in the early to mid 1990s, but this one does an acceptable job of playing LP speed tapes.
23727 Sierra Vista. It's a party. It is going to be amazing. I've seen the chicks. I know about these things, and I got a feeling about this one. It is going to be hot, I'm telling you.
EP speed recordings, also known as SLP, aren't going to look good on any VCR, and this one is no exception. Without the benefit of hi-fi stereo, you're at the mercy of how good the linear audio track was, and on some VCRs they definitely treated it as an afterthought.
This is great. Don't you get it? We're dead. We don't get it there by 11. We're shut out. Game is over.
Dave, just tell him to send over a copy. Don't panic.
There's no copy. We didn't have time.
We're dead.
That's what I said. We're dead. I just said we're dead.
At Compaq, we realize you never know when you're going to need information or where. So we created Aero, a powerful computer so small and lightweight you'll never be tempted to leave it behind.
See? No reason to panic. I'm buying lunch.
Lunch? You mean dinner?
Here is pause on an SP Speed recording, and that's actually really good. It's perfectly stable and there's virtually no noise in the picture. And if I press pause again, it steps through the video frame by frame. And if I press fast forward while it's in pause, it automatically steps through it frame by frame. And the more I press fast forward, the faster it goes. So that's pretty neat. Variable speed frame advance. And here is forward picture search. And then reverse picture search. So at least on this tape, it's working fine. The heads of most VCRs are actually optimized for EP speed because they knew that would be the most popular speed for recording long American sporting events like baseball and football games. And this player is indeed able to get a stable pause on an EP recording. And then I can go frame by frame. Some noise in the picture, but not bad. So at least the pause is perfectly stable on EP. There's forward picture search, which has some noise bars but is watchable. And if we push the button again, it can go into double speed forward picture search, which again, some noise bars in the picture, but you can see what's going on. Yeah. And same thing in reverse. Single speed reverse picture search. And push it again, you get double speed reverse picture search. So that's pretty good.
Good block by Natron.
According to the features listed on the front panel, this is a VHS HQ player, but it doesn't say anything about SQPB, nor does the manual mention it. Also known as quasi-SVHS, that's where a normal VHS machine can play a Super VHS recording, albeit at only standard VHS quality, so you won't get the benefit of the Super VHS resolution. So here I have a SVHS-C camcorder tape, which I'll put into a VHS-C adapter, and I'll play it in this VHS player and see what it looks like. If it looks like a normal VHS recording, then this does have SQPB. If the image is all distorted, then it does not. So let's find out. Actually, this time I'll give you a spoiler alert and a flashing images warning. No, it does not support quasi-SVHS.
Give me that bone. Who did that? Speak! Speak!
Another feature that it lacks is high-speed fast forward and rewind. That's as fast as it gets. And it stops rather abruptly when it reaches the end of the tape. I was going to remove the cover to show you it in action, but the mechanism in this is remarkably photosensitive. It needs to be in almost complete darkness in order to work correctly. Otherwise it goes into a failsafe mode and ejects the tape. Inside, as you'd expect, is a bog standard late model Funai VHS mechanism with a 4-head dual azimuth head drum. There's the ACE head, which stands for Audio Control and Erase, although in this case it does not erase because it doesn't record. There's the capstan and pinch roller, and right in the middle is an infrared LED, and on each side is an infrared photo detector which it uses to detect when it reaches the clear leader at the end of the tape. It'll sense that and immediately stop. Using a Handycam with Night Shot makes that infrared LED visible, and it's quite powerful. You can see it reflect off my fingers, which confuses the mechanism because it thinks a tape is inserted. And you can actually see it shine through the clear leader when it reaches the end of the tape. And there is the automatic head cleaner, a little piece of foam sponge which briefly pushes against the head drum every time you insert or eject a tape to clean the tape heads. My opinion is, as long as that foam is not visibly dirty or disintegrating into little pieces, just leave it alone. It's actually helpful to have an automatic head cleaner as long as it's still working properly. And there's where the TV tuner and RF modulator module would have gone if this had been equipped with it. But since the manufacturer of these were too cheap to meet the digital TV tuner requirement that went into effect in March 2007, exactly when this was being manufactured, they opted to just remove it entirely, leaving this blank space. And the DVD player part of it is entirely unremarkable. By the time this was made, they were able to condense the entire electronics of a DVD player down to just 2 main chips on this circuit board. Removing the front panel reveals artifacts of all the features this model doesn't have, including AV input jacks and a recording button. But unfortunately, I don't think regaining the ability to record will be as simple as soldering in the missing components, because they also repurposed the record and timer LEDs to act as play and cassette in, which means they changed the firmware and thus almost certainly locked out the ability to record in its logic. Just to be sure, I found a remote that is almost identical to the one it came with, except this one does have the record button, and while the other functions work like play, stop, fast forward, and rewind, with a blank tape inserted, pushing record does nothing, exactly as I suspected. Also missing are the front panel buttons for channel up and channel down, but in this case I do think soldering in the missing components would regain some functionality, because those serve double duty as a manual tracking adjustment. And the closest equivalent model to this which could record, the DV220MW9, did have those front panel tracking buttons, so it's kind of cruel that they left them off of this one. And right there underneath the front of the VHS mechanism is the mode switch, and in case you're having problems with it and don't want to go through the trouble of removing the whole mechanism to gain access to clean it manually, it might be good enough to just reach in there and hose it down with some deoxit spray, and that might get it working again without needing to do any disassembly.
By Magnavox. Hey, we make technology people want. Magnavox. Smart. Very smart.
I know my conclusion is going to be skewed by survivorship bias, because a lot of these Funai-made models were troublesome and unreliable when new. But by this point, that actually works in our favor, because the ones of these that have lasted this long without already being thrown out years ago are the survivors, and will likely either just be working fine like this one is, or could be easily made working with some simple maintenance like cleaning the heads and mode switch. And if all you want to do is just play VHS tapes and DVDs and don't necessarily care about extracting the highest possible quality from them, then something like this Magnavox DV200MW8 might be all you need to get the job done.
Ever wonder how remotes get lost? Well, no matter how your remote gets lost, Magnavox makes the only television that can find it. With the exclusive remote locator, you just push a button, and your remote beeps, telling you where it is. Hey, we make technology people want. Magnavox. Smart. Very smart.